Let's talk about the future of AI in facilitation. And quite frankly, we'd like to give you our best guess as to where we think this thing is going. So let's back up a bit because there's some really good news, and it is good news. You don't have to be concerned about AI replacing your facilitation business. It's not going to happen. However, be very concerned, and I mean this, very concerned about facilitators who use AI well replacing your facilitation business because you want to be one of those who are using AI well. Let me drop back for perspective. Do you remember how AI has overtaken the user end of the automotive industry? So you'd have to go back 20, 25 years. My first awareness was with GPS, where I had been a map guy, where I did everything on maps before. And was good at getting a mental model by using my map. Then came out GPS, where all you had to do is tell it where you were going, and it would tell you each step of the way where to go. Of course, I lost my mental model because I was just following AI, but it was extremely helpful. I think then came next when Lexus came out with that ability to actually take over the steering wheel, take over the brake, and park your car. Now, if you lift up the cover on that and understand what's needed there, because not only did the AI have to be able to do the steering wheel, the brake, the mechanics of driving a car, but it also would have to get a picture of that space that you were trying to get into. So a different experience completely. Well, then came Cruise Control Plus. Do you remember that? I had been using Cruise Control for many years, but what happened is with cruise control usually is you got close to a car, you'd have to hit the brake, then you have to reset it, and you'd have to get back to the speed you wanted to get to. But with Cruise Control Plus, whole different story. You just set the speed you'd want to go, and if it got too close to a car, it would automatically slow you down. And when the car moved, it would automatically accelerate back to the same speed. Now let's lift up the cover on that. What's going on in that environment? The car has to be able to now see what's going on the road, things happening around it, and be able to respond to that. Well, now today, we have self-driving cars. Now that is a whole nother level of sophistication because not only does it need to be able to see everything going on around it, it needs to correctly interpret the meaning of what it's seeing and then take the next step and say, therefore, here's what you should do as a self-driving car. Let me underscore that. It needs to read what's going on around it, correctly assess the meaning, and then decide what action is best and take that action. Well, I believe where we are with facilitation today, we're in the early days. In fact, many people are using facilitation for agenda development. Tell ChatGPT, tell Claude, this is the session. Here's the background on it. Here's all the information you need. Here's the task I want to give you. Ask me any questions you want. You can give it the session documentation. Remember all those flip charts and stuff we used to come back with and having to transcribe. Take pictures of that, send it to ChatGPT. Now, admittedly, it doesn't do a great job, but if you get the prompts right, it can do a really good job of in not only transcribing, but then giving an interpretation to that transcription that, of course, you'd have to do some work with. Well, what about session execution? Are you using AI in the room right now while the session is live? Are you doing things in the room with AI? Quite frankly, we are not. But it's a big black hole today. And I think we believe that black hole is something AI will be filling in the years to come. So where is it going? We think of AI as going to become your co-facilitator. So if you facilitated with another person before, you probably had to figure out, okay, who's going to do what? How are we going to do it? How are we going to actually leverage that there are two facilitators in the room? Well, today, the way we do it, we have co-facilitator guidelines. If two facilitators are facilitating together, we have the role one, which is the primary role running the group. Role two is the observer role, where you're observing group dynamics. And the co-facilitators switch from time to time, who's role one, who's role two. Now, here's the interesting part. Role two's job not only is to observe what's going on, but to actually figure out what action to take. And at the break, the two facilitators get together, the co-facilitator shares what's seen, makes recommendations, as the case may be. But one other thing, with the way we do co-facilitators have the authority at any time to say to the facilitator live session, excuse me for just a second, I've just observed something. I have a question I'd like for the group to. And the primary facilitator, the facilitator one, knows whenever that happens to trust that the co-facilitator has seen something, drop back, observe until the co-facilitator turns it back over to you so you can see what they've seen. Well, with that in mind, here's how we see the AI co-facilitator.
Let me set the scene. I was a member of one of the national consulting firms and was working with a company implementing an executive information system. The session included the CEO, the COO, the Chief Operating Officer, and several of the executive vice presidents. Early in the session, I noticed that the first time the COO spoke, the CEO shifted in his seat.
So let's talk about that. The CEO shifted in his seat. Well, let's imagine that my co-facilitator is in my ear here. We have AI sitting on the table, constantly turning, reading the room. And so it's going to give me some information on what it observes, what it concludes from it, the potential impact, probability of that impact happening, and a recommended action. Listen in what's going on in my ear.
Observation. After the COO spoke, the CEO shifted in his seat. Conclusion. This could indicate dissatisfaction with the COO's comment. Impact. The CEO may drop out, continue negative nonverbals, or become a verbal attacker. Probability, 40%. Action. Consider doing a mini round robin, starting 2 people before the CEO. Blink rapidly twice if you would like sample words.
There you go. Isn't that interesting? Hearing it speak and telling you in the ear. But of course, that's happening pretty slow. And there's my AI, as we envision it, has an abbreviated mode where it gives that information very quickly using the letters OCIPA. So listen to it in abbreviated mode.
O. COO spoke. CEO shifted. C. Dissatisfaction with COO's comment. I. Dropout, negative nonverbals, verbal attacker. P. 40%. A. Mini round robin. Blink twice for words.
Okay, so that's maybe helpful. Quite frankly, I want to use it in full standard mode. The abbreviated mode, I'm not sure I'd pick up right away until I got really used to it. Well, let's go for it. Let's say I took no action. Let's watch this session continues.
And I used the technique used by most meeting leaders when faced with the early signs of dysfunction. It happens so often we have a name for it. It's called the ostrich technique. I stuck my head in the sand and I hoped it would go away. The session continued. The next time the COO spoke, the CEO pushed back from the table, crossed his legs away from the room, and shook his head.
Oops, kind of interesting, isn't it? There you go. I ignored it the first time, and guess what happened? It got worse. So once more, my co-facilitator goes to work.
Observation. After the COO spoke, the CEO pushed back from the table and shook his head. Conclusion. This second more negative reaction appears to confirm dissatisfaction with the COO's comment and may be an indicator of deeper conflict between the CEO and COO. Impact. The CEO may drop out, continue negative nonverbals, or become a verbal attacker. Probability, 90%. Action. Highly recommend doing a mini round robin, starting 2 people before the CEO. Blink rapidly twice if you would like sample words.
Okay, once more now that you notice probability has gone from 40% to 90%. But let's just say once more, I ignore it and use that famous and most common technique.
And guess what technique I used? Yes, you're correct. Once more, the ostrich technique. And quite efficiently, I might add. And we had a break. We came back from the break. When the COO made his next comment, the CEO exploded. He said,
"That is the stupidest thing that I've ever heard. It's limited thinking like that is the reason why this company's in the shape it's in."
Wow. Yes, in my session. So, of course, I am really looking for help from my AI assistant. So, here's what my AI assistant has to say.
Observation. The CEO has verbally attacked the COO. Impact. This action may cause fight, flight, or freeze behavior from the COO and may hamper other participants from speaking freely. Probability. 99%. Action. Highly recommend stepping in, calling for a break, and having a private conversation with the CEO. Blink rapidly twice if you would like sample words.
And you know what my reaction is? Blink, 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 blink. I absolutely am going to want some sample words as to how to handle this situation. So as you can see, AI was observing the room, interpreting what was going on, and advising me as my co-facilitator. Just for friends, I'd love to share with you what actually happened in that section. This is a reenactment, of course, but here's what actually happened.
That is the stupidest thing that I've ever heard. It's limited thinking like that is the reason why this company's in the shape it's in.
the room went completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Everyone looked at me. What was I going to do? I had no idea what to do. I had not been trained in these techniques we're talking about. You know what I said? Any other input? The session was a disaster. Facilitators often have high anxiety about encountering dysfunctional behavior in a session, and for good reason. We typically are poorly prepared to handle dysfunctional situations. We typically are not trained and lack the tools and methods for addressing these difficult circumstances. And when we do encounter them, we often do as I did in the situation I just described. We employ the ostrich technique. We stick our heads in the sand and hope the situation goes away. Unfortunately, as in the case study, dysfunctional behavior that is ignored often doesn't go away. Sometimes it comes roaring back in a much worse form.
If I had my AI co-facilitator there, it could really have made a difference right there in my ear, telling me and observing and giving me advice as to what to do. So we are believers that AI can make a great contribution in facilitation by being our AI co-facilitators, watching the room, observing, and then through our earpiece, letting us know what it's observing, making recommendations real time as we flow through the session. Well, going forward, let's talk about what we can do together to actually help ourselves maximizing AI in facilitation. Recommendation, let's keep us up to speed, keep each other up to speed on the latest in AI. If you're a LinkedIn user, join the AI in Facilitation LinkedIn group. You see the QR code there to the right. And so we say, let's be the facilitators maximizing AI and not those sticking their heads in the sand. Wishing you much success as you go forward with your facilitation.